The Play Pokemon North American International Championship had a ton of promotion going into the event, non-stop features, non-stop hype. This is the year we are seeing record turnout for Play Pokemon events. COVID is over, everyone's playing Pokemon again, new generation of games, everything's revolutionary in the TCG. It should have been crazy. But why is no one talking about the event? I didn't really see anything going on as the event was happening, and no, like, major thing coming post-event, and the attendance kind of reflects that, because we have the North American International Championship for VGC, garbage attendance, 777. Now you might be thinking, wait, that's still, like, big for Pokemon, especially recently. I mean, if we compare it to other VGC events, we have Orlando, 782, so the same amount of entrants as Orlando, even though that was just a regional, and this is the international championship that was getting more press and more promotion than any of the other events. Also, it's the culmination of the year, like right before Worlds as well. This is where we peak, and then we peak again for Worlds, right? No, just 700 entrants. All right, someone pointed this out to me, and it is worth mentioning. Scott Glaza, the corrupt man himself. I mean, it's just all these bad people inside of Play Pokemon ruining it, man. Yeah, that makes your event desirable. Now, TCG crushed it, though. Almost 2,000 players in TCG Masters. That is insane. Like, Pokemon TCG has been popping off, but as we're going to get into, actually not as crazy as you would think, because I was thinking, okay, Yugioh. You know, no one plays Yu-Gi-Oh anymore. Game hasn't been good since Synchros, and now it's all just like overcrept, power creep, nonsense, unplayable garbage. Just go play goats. 2,400 for a YCS. When did Yu-Gi-Oh become more popular than the Pokemon TCG? Where are all these Yu-Gi-Oh players hiding to just show up to Philadelphia as 2,400 for Yu-Gi-Oh? I can't get over that this is Yu-Gi-Oh! Also, if we're, like, comparing stuff, we did see growth in Pokemon TCG. It was 1,500 at Orlando, so, like, doubling, and then getting more than double for the International. And then, like, still losing out to Yu-Gi-Oh! But this isn't even, like, the crazy part. So, I'm in the judge group for Yu-Gi-Oh! Because back in the day, I was a judge. And I saw, like, a random picture go by where it was, like, the recent event. And it was table 1,600. There was 3,200 people that entered the World Championship qualifier for North America for Yu-Gi-Oh! Over 3,000 duelists. And Pokemon not breaking 2K for their international championship for the largest franchise in the world, and like all the crazy amounts of promotion that we've been seeing, like just desperately trying to push for Play Pokemon to be a thing. Like, we had the Road to Worlds, and this is where it's crazy. Official trailer, almost 1 million views. Now, I do wonder how many of those were ad buys. Because we get into the actual thing, 66,000 for episode 1. And then it just dropped off a cliff, 27,000, 23,000, 22,000. The way that, like, sponsorship money is just being wasted in esports makes me sad, because, like, dang, I never took my bag. And I'm the one that's canceled in Pokemon for being the only influencer that wants to see Pokemon grow organically and positively, instead of all this fake garbage that no one cares about. You know, all the cheating going on in VGC, all the cheating and harassment going on in TCG and stuff. And then, like, alright, so we have Masters Finals, Milwaukee 2023, 11,000 viewers. And then just all this other stuff. So the North American International Championship, that's actually Seniors Finals. Oh, wow, wait. So, Seniors got more views than Masters, and also Juniors is just like all cheaters anyways, so like, wow, VGC Masters, just nothing for the North American International Championship. 14,000 views, and then again, you just look at all this, we had our big international event, no one cared. Dang, Pokemon can't even like pull in the views on like creepy clickbaity things too. Ugh. The marketing team is failing, dude. So like, again, it's just like all this fake nonsense where most people aren't playing or interested in Pokemon because of the cheating problem, which means it's only toxic people left in the community that just keep bullying out people like me that are trying to call out the actual problems and the corruption that has been proven inside of Play Pokemon on all fronts. But like, yeah, TCG is growing. we're seeing like this big boom for the Pokemon TCG, and then these numbers come out with like all the billions of cards printed and sold in a year, but it's all collectors. It's just people that don't funnel back in. You know, we're getting 58,000 views on a tweet, on a tweet, not a lot of retweets, not a lot of attention. And if Wolfey isn't in the finals, then no one cares, even though Wolfey is the biggest fraud in Pokemon. I mean, we got Supermarket Sweep, you know, that, remember back in the day? No, actually you don't, because it's all just Zoomers and brats that didn't grow up properly, where we had like that Toys R Us run, where you can just run through Toys R Us for like 1 or 2 minutes, and that was like the dream as a kid. You win that sweepstakes, get whatever you want. Did that for Pokemon. For the Pokemon Center, 60-second shopping challenge, 20k views. No one is even like living vicariously through anyone in Pokemon, and it's all just like, oh boy, Spraggles, very uninteresting, or whoever that is. Like, it's you don't have the right faces, you don't have the right casters. That's also why we're seeing things like this. I've also in a previous video, I said, hey, if anyone can find more tweets or comments about this, please send them my way, so I can actually like do a big thing about the outside looking in on Pokemon. It doesn't really seem like that exists. Like, Pokemon, again, despite being the largest franchise in the world, where you would expect, like, if we're seeing all this growth, it should just be like snowballing exponentially or getting more attention, just isn't. It's like completely isolated. People from the outside don't go in, and no one from the outside or inside goes out. And that's why everything's just broken. It's all just cheating and toxicity and nonsense and whatever happened to the Pokemon forum. So yeah, I took time to watch this, and it was the single most miserable viewing experience of an esports stream I've ever seen in my life. 20 minutes of empty conversation, match for 5 minutes, and this is like trying to get hugs. We have a legend from the Smash community flipping over into Pokemon, not bringing attention to the stream, not bringing attention to the scene, and then everyone hates it because it's so poorly managed, because Play Pokemon is just complete garbage. No one cares about the Road to Worlds, and yeah. The broadcasts just don't really have that interesting of segments or good talent or anything that like represents and makes Pokemon like something desirable to be in. And even if you do find any of this interesting enough to like get into, you just get cheated against and lose anyways, and because it's all just nepotism and you need to be in the lead. Like, you've already needed to be in the scene, being a scumbag for 10 years, to have, like, the in to play it out. If not, like, you're just too disadvantaged on every front, and nothing is being done about it. Way to go, Play Pokemon. And anyone that does find interest just finds the entire scene to be horrible. So there's no stickiness as well, and then you wonder why we only have 777 players, and people are like, but VGC's growing. It's like triple the amount of people we've seen in the past. But then, like, you just have to kind of compare. Like, this is still dropping off. This is tailing off. So if we're comparing it to, like, the first year of Pokemon Sword and Shield, and then we adjust for the 25-30% more sales Pokemon Scarlet and Violet got, we didn't grow. We just scaled linearly with the amount of sales, and we're not even retaining it or growing on top of that, despite having such a large game and a scene that should be growing. 2023 Fort Wayne, 500 people only. The TCG, again, little over double. It's like, you know, little over double on all these events is what we're seeing for TCG versus VGC. And then North American International World Qualifier for Yu-Gi-Oh!, which is a dead game that no one enjoys anymore, apparently. Getting I can't even fathom 3,000 people, dude. Like, how do you even run an event? How do you even attend an event like that? That is just way too large. But it's not even, like, just this gaming phenomenon. Someone on my Rumble stream pointed out World Series of Poker, shattering records. 10,000 people needed 4 day ones to actually, like, get the qualifiers going. 17-year wait is over, so it took 17 years to break the record. We now have a new World Series of Poker main entry record. 8,830 entries and counting. Registration open until 4:40 p.m. on Saturday. The record will be beaten. That's one of those things where it's like, okay, if like gaming's coming up and we have all these younger generations interested in games and esports and stuff, why is it not competing with poker? This is a $10,000 entry, and that is not enough of a gate for 10,000 people. And then also, like, yeah, Pokemon events, I don't even know how much the North American Internationals was. Regionals are like $70 to enter. I don't know if North American International Championship was more or about the same, where it's like, yeah, 70, 80 bucks. So the events are raising money. They're not converting money. And Yu-Gi-Oh's just beating it, and then in the rest of the world, people are just showing up to more events. Now, that's another thing I don't understand, where it's like, okay, so we're seeing, like, more attendance, but it's not just Pokemon. So if you're trying to say, like, oh, Pokemon's growing, everything's growing, but it's growing at a scale that can't even be explained by COVID. That's, like, the first thing you think. Okay, everything was shut down for a while, people want to go out and do things. but like everything is breaking records, and some of the numbers are beyond astonishing or surprising if you're not directly in the scene. And Pokemon's still at the bottom, despite being the largest franchise in the world that should have more viewership and stuff. But again, when it's ran by frauds or bad actors or like clickbaiters and fake news and all of the, the bad, like every influencer being fake is what I've been calling out in Pokemon for the last decade. When that happens, it turns out you don't have an organic audience that actually cares about the scene. They only care about the fraud influencer that's exploiting them for ad revenue and sponsorships and stuff. So we don't have an organic scene. We don't have any growth in Pokemon. Everything else is doing crazy, and it really can't be explained. Now, there was an interesting point on the World Series of Poker side where their entry fee has just been $10,000 forever. So it's like inflation goes up, that technically becomes a more obtainable number, especially if like you decided to save your vacation money and not travel because of COVID. But lockdowns ended over a year ago. So like this is just a new boom, and we're going to see if it holds. Like, are people just doing events more, or is this like everyone's generational hurrah, and that's like this year, maybe next year? Like, this is a very unique time span of people like just exploding out to every event, and then it's just going to crater again, or is this the new normal? No one knows. Another weird thing is like if you just go off of online, everyone's like more socially stunted and unironically not touching grass and going outside enough anymore. So why is like in-person event turnout crazy? Like, I'm not one of those sheltered people, but man, I do not like the idea of going to a 3,000 person event. That just seems too much. And yet people are doing it, and we're seeing like these record breaking, and then you think like, oh, 777, so much for the Pokemon event. Nothing, not even close. And if we compare it to the Orlando event, it just makes it seem like the people that are in town, no one's actually going out to participate, to involve themselves in the Pokemon community. They're just like, oh, yeah, Orlando, a major metropolitan area, if I'm just kind of in the area. Or the state of Florida. If you live in Miami, it's a couple-hour drive. People do that regularly. That's a weekend. Not even going to Disney. Just like, yeah, it's a Florida thing where even though the state's long and takes a couple hours to drive, just head up to Orlando. So, effectively, the state of Florida gets 800 people playing Pokemon VGC, and that's it. And then the International Championship doesn't have anyone that actually wants to go out to it because the scene is so terrible. And despite, the $80 entry fee with all these players, prize support's low. It's just a completely mismanaged scene, and then the viewing experience and esports experience is terrible because of all the corruption and nepotism. And just a garbage scene that doesn't want to improve. In a weird way, you can really see the blind toxicity towards me because people are like, yo, Verlisify, dead channel. Oh, I mean, largest franchise in the world, 5 million subscribers, 10k views. It's okay, yeah, my channel's dead. The thing that gets me is I don't know what the takeaway here is. And that's kind of like this thing I've been getting at with my content and my Verlisify is always right tour and all these other things that are going on. It's like, okay, like this is happening. I'm kind of getting ideas as to why it's happening. But the Pokemon community at large is like so deranged and crazy. Like we're still finding, tens of thousands of people. There's still like high engagement in other content that isn't converting. So like, where are these people? How is it happening? The community is in such a weird spot. And I feel like I'm the only one trying to put the pieces together. But that's the kind of thing, like people are watching me because I'm informing them of what they don't know. So I'm not even getting like these extra takes funneling up from my community, from people watching this video that might have a better idea as to what's going on. It's just broken. The Pokemon community is just too broken in like every way to unravel and really break it down. And then like, this is why we don't have a scene and no one wants to improve the scene. And anyone from outside just like, yo, this shit's miserable and doesn't want to fight for it. And then anyone that actually cared about Pokemon years ago, like my 2016 audience, where it's like, oh, we have several 100,000 views on my Worlds videos. No one saw this and got inspired to want to make Pokemon better. No one saw this and got inspired to make Pokemon better. Like it's like it just drained all the passion out of them. And then they just leave Pokemon. That's like kind of the biggest thing. I've seen people leave my audience and leave Pokemon more than they leave me or hate something I've done or called out or anything. So yeah, that Worlds coverage was like crazy, especially 2016, where we had all of this promotional material for Wolf Click and all of this build up into it. It's like, oh, it turns out he's a cheater. And it's pretty obvious. And then that's when you pick your sides, where it's like, well, I'm either a Wolf simp or I'm quitting Pokemon because it looks too doomed and corrupted. And then everything else is just deranged around it, and no one wants to improve because they're all toxic, and they're happy in their cesspool. And, like, that can't be the takeaway, right? For the largest franchise in the world. Especially if, like, you're in the echo chamber, and you're in the cult, and you're in the bubble, and you're like, we're growing, everything's better. it just doesn't exist. So yeah, like we have all of these like I don't even know. It's just too weird. And again, I'm the only person fighting for it, and anyone else that tries to fight for it gets even like harder bullied out because they like at least I had an audience to begin with. At least I have a foundation somewhere trying to like come up and call it out from the beginning. You never even get the chance to like get the slightest amount of growth that I had or something. And then everyone else that's like obtained it, you know, we're not seeing any other large content creator or PokeTuber speak out about the problems because they don't want to lose it like they saw happen to me, and they were actually a part of the people, like they were part of the group canceling me and all that stuff. So everyone's fake, everyone sucks, Verlisify always right, keeps getting proven by the numbers, and then like it's just that outside staggering stuff that I found where it's like, oh, it's not just Pokemon growing, it's everything, and Pokemon's growing at a smaller rate, and even then Pokemon really isn't growing when you get into the numbers and the scaling and stuff behind it. And North American International Championship was poop and no one cared about it. And this is like supposed to be the year and the season and the community time for Pokemon on the largest, fastest selling game ever. Nope. I'm still showing you guys this. Maybe it means something, maybe something happens, but yep, I don't think anyone from the outside is actually going to care. I don't think the scene is going to develop, and so like just deeply corrupted, and I've been talking about for so long that there is no unrooting that nonsense unless we see bans. Like that would be the big news. You hear like Wolf Glick banned for 4 years, other cheaters taken down, and then you see like some new fresh casters and like maybe slightly more spicy people because you know we have this where it's like, well, Spraggles isn't even like that good at the game, and then just does like the most vanilla content ever for child pandering, probably COPA violating. I don't watch enough of his content to know. And then like that's, you have to be like the most uber safe, and then like you just get something that no one wants to engage with that is effectively a dead scene and it stays dead. And then that's why people want to go outside of it, but then you just go into the bad actors because that's all that rules social media and YouTube these days. Nice. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.